And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
And welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. In Mexico, the editors of a local newspaper in the town of Ciudad Juarez have set off a national debate after they published a front-page editorial directly addressing the drug cartels that have terrorized the city. El Diario de Juarez published the editorial on Sunday, days after a young photographer at the paper was shot dead as he covered celebrations for the 200th anniversary of Mexico's revolution for independence from Spain. The victim, 21-year-old Luis Carlos Santiago, was the second reporter from El Diario to be killed in the drug violence that has besieged Mexico.
In the editorial, the editors of the newspaper directly address the drug cartels. They write, quote, "Explain to us what you want from us, so we know what to abide by. You are at this time the de facto authorities in the city because the legal authorities have not been able to stop our colleagues from falling." They go on to write, quote, "It is impossible for us to do our job under these conditions. Tell us then what you expect from us as a newspaper. This is not a surrender. This is about a truce with those who have imposed the force of their law in the city so that you will respect the lives of those who dedicate themselves to the job of informing the public."
Pedro Torres, the top news editor of El Diario, defended the decision to address the drug cartels directly.
If the authorities aren't able to give us the guarantees to carry out our work, if the authorities can't guarantee the safety of our citizens or that they have the right to be informed, then we want to know who can. If it's them, then we want them to tell us how. That is the first intention, but we also want to create awareness and create a positive reaction.
The editorial touched a nerve across Mexico as the country reels from violence and a drug war that has claimed more than 28,000 lives since President Felipe Calderón took office more than 3.5 years ago. More than 6,000 people have been killed in Ciudad Juarez alone. Many news organizations in Mexico have all but stopped reporting about the cartel violence. More than 30 media workers have been murdered or disappeared since December 2006, according to a report by the Committee to Protect Journalists. They write, quote, "As vast self-censorship takes hold, Mexico's future as a free and democratic society is at risk."
For more, we're joined by two Juarez journalists. Joining us on the telephone from Juarez is Julian Cardona, an award-winning journalist and photographer who's been reporting on border issues from Ciudad Juarez over the past 17 years. He writes for the Mexico City Bureau of Reuters and has collaborated on several books with writer Charles Bowden. Joining us from Vancouver in Canada is Luis Horacio Najera. He spent a decade reporting in Ciudad Juarez and along the Mexican-U.S. border for La Reforma. He and his family were forced to flee Juarez in late 2008. He was recently granted refugee status in Canada. He's just received an International Press Freedom Award from the Canadian Journalists for Free Expression. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Let's go down first to Juarez to talk about what exactly is happening there. Julian Cardona, can you talk about the situation and the letter, the appeal, the editorial that has just been released?
Well, first of all, good morning, and thanks for having me in your program. And well, what happens here is we have almost 100% of impunity in the city. Diario recently published a story last month where it was stated that only 3% of the homicides of this year, more than 2,000, are under investigation. Not even that they are solved, but only 3% of those murders are under investigation. What we are seeing now in Juarez is what is produce when impunity is the only thing that happens in the city. We have been under this for 3 years, more than 6,000 homicides. In fact, 6,600 homicides we have had in this city. And what we are seeing now is that the state has been replaced for a kind of parallel state, which charge taxes to people, to businessmen. They charge quota, a fee for operating. Most of the business have been have moved to El Paso, many people have fled, and this has led to a city that is under decomposition. That is basically what is happening in the city.
And Julian Cardona, given the fact that the president of Mexico has brought so many troops into the streets and federal agents, why is the violence continuing to spiral, even under the eyes of so many law enforcement agents?
Well, we have the answer by themselves. Several weeks ago, a group of federal police protested against their bosses and described in detail the way they operate and how they kidnap people, or how they open the area for killers or for the drug groups to move drugs into the city, how they are blaming innocent civilians and being put in jail and being robbed by the federal forces. And it was said by themselves. It was transmitted live, nationwide. So I don't have to add anything. They describe how the federal police operate.
I wanted to bring Luis Horacio Nájera into the conversation. You've just been granted refugee status in Canada. Describe your experience reporting in Juarez until you left at the end of 2008.
Hi, good morning. Well, as Julian described it perfectly, the situation for journalists not just in Ciudad Juarez, I would say in basically all over the border, the U.S.-Mexico border, but there's some hot spots, I would say, for journalists. Ciudad Juarez is one of them. The situation for journalists is it's complicated, and the thing is, we are seeing now an eruption of violence against the press, but I would say the violence against journalists in the border is sadly, it's a common issue, because Julian could say for many years, we as journalists, we have to face threats, we have to face attacks, we have to face intimidation from both the drug or the criminal organizations and the authorities as well. So the problem is that now, since 2008, 2007 in Ciudad Juarez, the things become worse because of this federal effort to try to catch these mafia bosses, or try to fight against the criminal organizations. And this brings to the city a lot of impunity, a lot of the sense that you as a journalist are not safe any place, because sometimes, or it's quite common that you are trying to take some pictures, trying to get some information, and the authorities or criminal organizations, hitmen, they follow you, they try to take out your cameras or whatever, your equipment. And these kind of things are becoming worse through this, I would say, through 2007, but the worst is 2008 from now. I mean,